Chapter 21, Breaking Regina, December 1st, 1999. Although Rico skated on the short he hit, the Salinas cops turned right around and charged him with murdering Mikeo. No one knew if the FBI and Mueller were planning to do anything with Mo's pile of tapes or not, but the state went ahead with its own charges. This time, the DA considered the death penalty based on the special circumstances of lying in wait. Regina was bitter. Every time he got out, it was just like having got on our feet, she lamented. And then again and again, it was just like horrible. She needn't worry about this one. At the last minute, Guerrito, the only person police flipped who actually saw the hit, would testify at the preliminary hearing that he didn't see nothing. Nothing. The case was thrown out for lack of evidence, and every law enforcement officer who knew Rico was furious because the shithead had outmaneuvered them once again. During her man's last few weeks in the Salinas jail, Regina did not appreciate being hauled all the way out to San Jose to testify on her husband for some feds. Rico was still locked up and waiting to start his 20-year prison term for the Copas murder plots. Thank goodness a friend came along with her to watch the kids, because welfare wouldn't pay for the sitter when your ass was being dragged into a federal courtroom. It was the week after Thanksgiving and more than a year after the Mikeo incident. In truth, they were on pretty firm ground. The charges had been dismissed by the state court. She and Rico had a solid alibi for the Saturday when Mikeo was killed, and it was backed by paperwork and witnesses. Plus, she had spousal privilege, which would limit the prosecutor's questions. The only concern was to make sure the asshole in the suit didn't get her rattled. Her friend and an aunt had already testified, and this assistant U.S. attorney was aggressive. Dorsky, his name was. After facing the guy, her aunt told her she only had to trust in God and it would work out just fine. Regina settled into a brightly lit courtroom. Now, Miss Garcia, just a minute ago, you told me that you intend to invoke your spousal privilege, Dorsky began. Right, Regina said. I am going to ask you questions only for the time period that you were not married. That little loophole meant he could ask her anything he wanted about August 15th, the day Mikeo was whacked. And if I mistakenly ask you any questions for the time period that you were married, please point out. And if I mistakenly ask you any questions for the time period that you were married, please point that out to me, Dorsky said. He turned to the grand jury, the group of citizens summoned to hear his case against Rico and possibly issue a federal indictment. Or if any of the grand jurors do, please point that out to me and I will immediately stop. Perhaps due to the Northern District's past accusations of corruption, Bob Mueller did not appear inclined to take chances with the Nuestra Familia case, and he'd begun to bring in skilled prosecutors from back east, including this man. Dorsky had been with the DOJ in New York for 5 years before coming west for the NF investigation. He was familiar with racketeering cases. Most recently, he prosecuted Vincent the Chin Gigante, reputed head of the powerful Genovese crime family. One of his witnesses, a guy known as Big Pete, had to testify from a wheelchair because, so said the New York Times, he'd suffered 12 gunshot wounds in an attack ordered by other leaders of his own mafia group, the Lucchese crime family. Just a year before coming out to San Francisco, Dorsky had gotten the once untouchable Gigante convicted and sentenced to 12 years. Dorsky came across as polite, respectful. He assured Regina that a grand jury was a secret proceeding, which means that what you tell us stays here in this room. And he was upfront about what exactly the grand jury was investigating: Rico's alibi for the night Mikeo was killed. It took less than a minute for Dorsky's gentle exterior to vanish. When you were first approached about developing this alibi defense, he asked. An alibi, Regina asked. What do you mean? Like make up a story? Yeah, there was never a make-up story. Alright, he said, but the words sounded patronizing. Now you know that, he paused and started over. Do you know the reason why the date that we're going to talk about is important? Yes, Regina said. Do you know that your husband is suspected of killing somebody? Yes, she said, I do. Dorsky asked, how long Rico was in jail in 1998? Oh, I don't know. There were so many, I don't know, in and out through the year. You could say that. So, what was it about 1998 that all of a sudden he was able to start earning money, that now you could afford to get married? Regina said her uncle gave Rico a job. That was how they could pay for it. You know, that he made his money through committing burglaries and selling drugs and such things. No, Regina replied. That's what you were saying. Dorsky let that go and steered Regina back to the fateful Saturday when Mikey was whacked. Let's see, Regina said, as if she'd never given it a thought before this moment. I believe that was the day of my cousin Melinda's birthday party. Dorsky picked up on the feigned casualness. By the way, he said, have you thought for a while about the fact that you're going to be testifying in front of a grand jury? Regina admitted that kind of, well, yeah, she had. And you knew that we'd be asking about August 15th, 1998, correct? Right. Why is it that you're sort of hesitating to say, oh, well, I believe I was at my cousin Melinda's birthday party? Isn't that something you'd really be really sure of? Regina evaded the answer, saying only that with everything that had been going on over the years, you know, she was pretty sure it was Melinda's birthday party for her son. So you knew I'd ask you that question, right? Huh? You knew I would ask you what you did on that day, right? Of course I knew that you were going to ask me about that day. All right, because that's what the attorney said that warned us about. Dorsky cut her off. Don't tell me about what your lawyer said. Already shaken, Regina told him about the birthday party at a park near San Jose with a little area for kids to get wet. A lot of people were there. Rico stayed home, she said, and she left a little after 6 p.m. when it was almost getting dark. She said a cousin of hers was upset that she was leaving early, but she explained that she and Rico were going on a trip to check about getting married in Reno. Oh, are you going there to gamble? The cousin asked. No, we don't have that much money to be gambling over there. We're just going to get married, Regina told him. Well, here, the cousin said, handing her a bill. Play the slot machines for me. She told the grand jury that they picked up Rico and drove all night with a female friend. They went halvers on the motel room. The friend was visiting her husband, a man called Gangster, at High Desert State Prison in Susanville, and it was still dark when Regina heard her tiptoeing around to get ready. Man, you're crazy, she told her friend. What time is it? Oh, it's still early. Did you even sleep? Yeah, I got a little bit of sleep, her friend whispered as Regina pulled the blankets back up. Late that afternoon, Gangster's wife returned and they all headed off to Reno. Dorsky asked her how long the drive took to Reno. We were in the car for a while. There was like a tree place where people threw their shoes on a tree. I don't know how they did that, but it was like to go that way. There was a place where they threw shoes on a tree. Then down the road was like orange paint that had been... I'm not interested in that, Dorsky interrupted. God, the man was rude, Regina responded with her own irritation. Well, I don't know. It was like this road. I don't know how long it took. In any case, they checked out some chapels and got home to Selena's late Sunday night. Dorsky sounded astonished that they would drive straight home after so little sleep. He was aghast that her friend was perfectly capable of making this 8-hour drive Saturday night, then getting very little sleep because she had to visit her husband. Regina said. Then driving all this way to Reno, spending the day with you, and then driving back to Susanville, and then driving all the way back to Salinas. All within a period of around 40 hours or so. Why is that so strange? The guy had obviously never lived the life of a prisoner's wife. You drove all night, parked outside the prison before the sun rose, did your visit, and drove another 8 hours home. Yeah, it sucked, but that's the way it was every visiting weekend at prisons all over California. Regina had her own qualms about living that lifestyle, but she knew plenty of women who did it and drove straight through. Because who could afford an extra night at a motel or an extra day on the rental car? I don't know how she does it, but she does, Regina said of her friend. Dorsky still didn't get it. And when she had the option of doing this, leaving on a Friday night so that she could sleep like a regular human being, he said, your testimony is that she said to you, no, I don't want to leave Friday night. I want to leave Saturday. Well, yeah. She couldn't spend more time with her husband, and you wouldn't have this crazy schedule where she's in danger. She'd drive right off the road because she hadn't slept in 2 days. Regina tried to interrupt, but he wouldn't allow it. And it never came up in a conversation between you and she and Rico? Why are you doing this? No, Regina said firmly. Not really, no. As you were doing this trip, and as you were stopping to buy little pieces of food and get gas and so on, do you remember what, if anything, happened to the receipts for those purchases? For this she had an easy answer. Rico's attorney has them. No. What do you all do with the receipts? She said her friend collected them along the way. Alright, did you ever say to her, hey, we just spent $3.30 for fast food. Why are you saving this receipt? This isn't a business trip. I'm not sure. I don't know. Regina had let the jerk get to her. The receipts were the physical evidence of her husband's alibi, and Dorsky was acting as if she had made the whole thing up. She had to get control of herself. She said she asked her girlfriend if she saved any receipts or bank statements and stuff because apparently they weren't charging my husband with this case that you're asking me about. Would it be fair to say, Dorsky asked, that you asked her that about the time that your husband was charged by the state initially with this murder, or was it before that or after that? This flustered Regina. She said she wasn't sure if it was before or she just didn't know. Well, let's try and figure it out, Dorsky said, the tone more condescending by the minute. You told her that your husband is being charged with this murder, correct? It was after he got charged with this murder, she said. Wait, no. She remembered it was maybe before he was charged. He asked why she would have talked to her friend before Rico was charged. This gave Regina her shot. It didn't really matter if the guy in the suit believed her. Maybe she could win the grand jury's sympathy if they understood the pressure she constantly faced. Because you know what, she said, it's like every time something happens in Salinas, right away, it's my husband. And so for my husband, you know, he has things, documents, and we were not in or around that area that you guys claim, that you were charging him with now. So you were saying that she wasn't going to let him cut her off this time. She took control. Because the last time he went to court to tell about his whereabouts, they asked about photos or any documentation proving that he was there. This, that. And it's like, you know, now you know better to hold on to things. Because every time they want to know your whereabouts, especially for him. So are you saying it was the day after the murder that you... No, I wouldn't say the day after. I don't know exactly, you know, but I know that we did hold on to things. So you and he constantly held on to things like receipts. Yeah. And could you tell us what receipts you have for any other trip that you have ever taken in your life with Rico? She had an answer for this one too. I had movie tickets, flowers that he's given me for my birthday, you know, that I saved. A stuffed animal. From when you first dated? 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah, a little stuffed animal, I think. Alright. And you say that because you knew that automatically Rico Garcia... No, she said. I just saved things. Alright, he said. And could you bring for us next Wednesday all the restaurant receipts that you saved over the last 2 years? Dorsky could get them himself from Rico's attorney, Regina said. I'm not talking about August 15th or 16th. These very important dates, he said. I'm talking about any other time. Your attorney has all the receipts you have for all these other times. Like as far as any time in 1997 or 1998. He might have them, I don't know. Well, if he doesn't, you must, because you saved all these things, right? Well, I have souvenirs, yes I do. That's not my question, Dorsky said, no longer hiding his impatience from Regina or the grand jury. Don't steer away from my question. My question is the restaurant receipts. Do you have them or does your attorney have them? Not just restaurant receipts. He has certain things. I don't. Alright, I'll make it very clear to you. This is a very simple question. I'm asking about 1997 or 1998, not August 15th or 16th, okay? Not those 2 days. Any other day in 1997 or 1998. Who has the restaurant receipts that you've been saving? I guess me, she said. I don't know. Can you bring us? No, restaurant receipts, but I could bring just restaurant receipts. No, I don't have just restaurant receipts. You don't have any restaurant receipts. No, no. He cornered her like wounded prey, and now she had to scratch herself out. You were confusing me. I don't know if that's what you want. I have souvenirs. Not interested. I have stubs for movies. Not interested. I have like flowers. I have cards, dated, of letters. I don't know what. Miss Garcia, it's not a confusing question. Would it be fair to say that for 1997 and 1998, other than those two very important dates, you don't have not one single restaurant receipt in your possession? In my possession? No. The guy had one, and still he wouldn't let up. What I am asking now is anything beyond that. No, 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 no. No receipts. No, 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 no. Regina didn't hold back now. The suit had it coming to him and more. Her frustration, anger, the fear, and the despair, the suit had it coming to him and more. Her frustration, anger, the fear, and despair that had defied her days and her life with Rico boiled and erupted into a volcano of rage directed at this nosy little twerp from the Department of Justice. You can subpoena his attorney, and he can get up on this stand, she said. It was all directed at Dorsky, as if the jurors weren't there. And he can tell you that anything that happens in the Monterey County, right away, my husband is the first suspect And he can tell you that anything that happens in the Monterey County, right away, my husband is the first suspect they pick up or they charge. And it's been a constant harassment over the years. It's nonstop for anything. For crossing the street. There would be other people not using the crosswalk. He'd get a jaywalking ticket. My husband can't be outside. He gets it for an open container. My son at his school, he's already labeled as gang because supposedly his father is, we've been through a lot. All we're trying to do is just live a normal life like everybody else, Time to work, time to survive, time to raise your children. It's been a non-stop thing, non-stop. And they never gotten away. Time to work, time to survive, time to raise your children. It's been a non-stop thing, non-stop. And they've never gotten any convictions on my husband over these past years. And he's charged at the top and bottom here again. None. Time to work, time to survive, time to raise your children. And it's been a non-stop thing, non-stop. And they've never gotten any convictions on my husband over these past years. And he's charged at the top and bottom here again. None. And even throughout this charge that you're doing now, because of insufficient evidence, they are no longer pursuing it. It's just a non-stop thing. It's non-stop. My kids, it hurts a lot. And that's why, I go to church and I serve God. And you know what? As for now, everything that we're going through, I'm going to serve God. And I'm going to leave everything in God's hands, because no matter what I say right now in this room, I don't know if it's going to put it in their hearts. And I'm going to leave everything in God's hands, because no matter what I say right now in this room, I don't know if it's going to put it in their hearts, whether they're going to find my husband guilty or not. I don't know. We live our lives day by day. We have to make it. You can stand somewhere, like, for instance, the lady there, she gestured toward a grand juror. They would label her probably because of her hair color or her hairstyle. They think maybe she belongs to a group or a gang. Or if you're over there, then you belong to a group or you're a bad person. They just label you. Like, people tell me I didn't have no rights as long as I was with Rico. That I didn't have no rights. I didn't have no kind of rights at all for nothing. The volcano stopped spewing as abruptly as it begun. Dorsky paused and made sure she was finished before picking up. Dorsky paused and made sure she was finished before he picked up as if she said nothing at all. It appeared she would have liked the matter to end with her soliloquy. But the man in the suit was not done with her. "You've known Rico for how long?" he asked with a show of immense patience, like a shrink whose crazy client had just set his desk on fire. 5, 6 years now. And is it fair to say you love him? Yes, I love him. Do anything for him. I don't know about anything, but I love him. And him to have made money through crime, correct? No, she said, you were saying that. And by the way, you said that he's never been convicted of anything. But in fact, he's in jail now because he was just convicted of yet another murder, correct? No, actually, my husband was bossed into taking a deal. He pled a possession of a firearm that he never even possessed. He pled to, I guess, the thing that took place, even though he was not even there. It was either take the deal or go to trial like the other guy did and get found guilty, even though he's innocent. Well, I would say innocent. Yes, so it was either take the deal or go to trial and get life. Do you know that he's a member of a gang called the Nuestra Familia? Only what you told me, and the media and the police department when they go to the house. Do you know, not from the media or from me, what a norteño is? Yes, I used to work for the school district, and they would say that we have to know right away, like what norteños and sureños are. That sureños wear blue and norteños wear red, and that's about it. And if your husband is a norteño, no, he is not. She said this brazenly, as if forgetting there were verifiable records of his tattoos and his northern gang affiliation at every jail and institution he'd ever been inside. Do you know what Nuestra Raza is? No, I don't. And do you know what Nuestra Familia is? Not for me or the... No, I don't. I do not know. You ever correspond to Pelican Bay State Prison? As far as what part of the question is confusing to you? Okay, yes, she had. Did you speak to the media about your husband being convicted in that other case? I spoke to a news lady, yes, about the constant harassments, the things that I was going through, basically so that people could know. Alright, so you told them that the authorities don't like your husband. I didn't say basically they didn't like him. I just said that just how can anybody try to live a normal life with constant, we couldn't even go outside and have a family barbecue without them stalking or honking their horn, it was constant harassment. Yeah, you could say that. And the fact that you can't even be with your husband at night doesn't give you any feelings of anger towards... No, she said. On this point, she was adamant. It would be her final answer to this nosy prick and to the grand jury and to anyone else who cared to listen. Because I have God in my life, and He gives me the comfort that I need. He gives me the security when I cry, the warmth, prayer. My pastor's wife, I find it there. The warmth that I need, she said in conclusion, I find it in God. 2 hours after walking into that God-forsaken room, and then after a brief screaming match with one bitch of a grand juror who got all up on her and Rico for taking welfare as if that was some sort of crime, Regina left the courthouse knowing in her heart that, despite her entreaties to the Lord, her husband was about to be royally screwed.